this week's chapter of Bleach, Mayuri Koratsuchi decides to team up with his Frankenstein-like daughter Nemu so that they can challenge the Hands of Fate, otherwise known as the disgusting mutated Quincy abomination, Pernita. By the power of science, this was another exciting chapter of Bleach, which is continuing the oh-so-epic battle of Mayuri Koratsuchi and Pernita Parkinjazi. I'm not really sure how to say Pernita's last name. What I will say is that Pernita is one of the roughest opponents that Mayuri Koratsuchi has ever run into, and that's because he's been using a number of different techniques to try and subdue the power of Pernita, and the fact that Pernita can actually attack people with nerves. Luckily, in this week's chapter, Nemu is very important, and getting to see the father and daughter actually team up with each other is actually some really exciting stuff. That and the fact that this week's chapter just had a lot of really cool action and a lot of really awesome artwork. In particular, the beginning of the chapter, we got to see that Mayuri Koratsuchi was able to grow his arm back with pretty much no effort whatsoever, thanks to this little thing that was given to him by Nemu. He just injects it into his arm, it bubbles out and explodes, and he's got a brand new arm. It's got some really cool detail there, but when he actually starts to fight against the multiple hands, that's when things get really action-packed, because I love the way it's drawn with the multiple hands just reaching up into the air, constantly firing arrows in multiple directions, all at Koratsuchi all at the same time. So Mayuri Koratsuchi has come up with this crazy plan where he's going to constantly try and dodge Pernita's attacks while trying to spread this anesthetic dust, while his assistant Nemu decides to actually attack the arrows directly, which are attached to the nerves, which are attached to Pernita. He's created this compound, which is actually going to freeze his entire body all the way down to the core. So basically what it's going to work like is, if your eyes are opened up and you get hit with this attack, you're not going to be able to close them. If your mouth is open, you can't close it. If your heart has contracted, it's not going to be able to expand. If you have blood in your body circulating, it's going to stop. Thus, you're basically just going to die immediately upon impact. The problem is, Pernita keeps evolving, it keeps becoming smarter, and that's because whatever its nerves touch, whether it be someone or something on the ground, it actually starts to evolve into a much more smarter being, and this is going to be a very big problem for Koratsuchi, because even at the end of this week's chapter, it looks like he has the upper hand. It looks like the attack actually worked, because it seems like parts of Pernita's hands are starting to freeze and contract on itself, and it can't move anymore, when suddenly, it starts ripping its own fingers off, and then all those abilities just stop working, and then it looks like Koratsuchi is just going to be destroyed. What's going to happen? It's going to involve the character of Nemu. That's right, my friends. It looks like she's finally going to have a really big moment in the series. That's not to say that she hasn't before, but I think this is going to be the crowning achievement for the character of Nemu, and I expect we're probably going to get some backstory on both her and Koratsuchi as soon as this battle is finished, or right before it's finished. But there are still going to be some really cool surprises, I think, later on as this battle's going on. So what's the rundown on this week's episode of Bleach, which is not an episode so much as it is a chapter? It just makes me realize that I missed the anime Bleach series. What I will say is this week's chapter had some really cool action. It had some amazing artwork. I've said it before, I'll say it again, in terms of character design and setting up like action pieces and stuff. Like, Kubo knows exactly what he's doing. This is the type of stuff that just makes me want to see the anime back, because there's so much amazing movement actually going on in this week's chapter, whether it just be the look of Mayuri Koratsuchi's arm exploding out and becoming new again, or the scene where he's actually riding around in the air, actually like dodging all of the different arrow attacks from Pernita, who's attacking from multiple directions. It's all really exciting stuff, and I think it would look really fantastic in an anime battle. The other thing I really liked about this chapter, seems like little by little Koratsuchi is actually warming up to Nemu a little bit. He's deciding to let her join in on the battle, and maybe that's because, of course, he does have something of a soft spot for his daughter, but I really can't wait to see how that's going to play out, because by the end of this week's chapter, she looks pissed off. The final panel is just her looking up at something really weird, and then she just jumps up into the air, and that's it. But she looks so freaking rage-fueled, it's crazy. I really can't wait to see what she is going to do. Maybe we'll get a reveal of more of her abilities and what she's truly capable of, because knowing Mayuri Koratsuchi, he's always got a trick up his sleeve. Hell, he's got a trick up his sleeve that's up his sleeve that's up his sleeve. That's how smart he is. He's a freaking mad scientist, and he's always really fun to read and to watch. He had a lot of great dialogue in this week's chapter, especially when he was talking about Pernita actually evolving and comparing it to Kenpachi Zaraki, how it's actually just like him that would be talking back to Mayuri Kuratsuchi. And it is a big change, you know, you can really see how Pernita has actually changed from that weird little Jawa creature into turning into this highly intelligent hive mind of giant god arms. It's pretty freaking insane. That, and of course, like I said, I think my favorite part about this week's chapter, of course, was the action scenes and the artwork. It all just looked really good. If I only had one complaint about this chapter, it's that not too much happened. There wasn't that much development. Really, Mayuri Kuratsuchi has been fighting this guy for weeks, months at this point. But I really can't wait to see how they're all going to wrap this up. And if this is just a preview to what some of the other battles are going to be like in this final arc, then I'm really excited because Kubo's putting a lot of work into this one right here. And I feel that it's going to be a little bit more important than we realize, especially because these things are connected to the arms of the Soul King. What I will say is this week's chapter was incredibly exciting, had some great action scenes, a lot of great movement. Mayuri was cool, Nemu was awesome, Pernita keeps evolving, there's lots of twists and turns and mad science shenanigans, so I like this chapter a lot. So I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5. Like I said, my only complaint is not too much happened, and it's still mostly just more of the same, but damn does it look good doing it. So check it out, Bleach fans. Whether you've been reading the manga version since the beginning, or you considered yourself a fan of the anime version, check out the final arc of Bleach. It's getting really freaking exciting. But before you guys leave today, I want to hear your thoughts about this week's chapter of Bleach. Did you have a favorite action scene that appeared this week? A favorite moment? What do you think is the deal with Nemu? What do you think she's actually going to do in the next chapter? Is she going to be able to help out her father? Is she going to have some secret ability that's going to be revealed? I think we're going to see something very special from the character, but I want to hear from you guys. Please tell me in the comment section below. Thank you guys for watching my review. Make sure to like it, subscribe to the channel, and follow us on social media. Make sure to check out our weekly podcast show, which unfortunately was on break this week. You guys have probably noticed a lot of videos have been on break this week, and that's just because we have been busy as hell. We do have day jobs, and they tend to keep us very busy. We've just been a little more busier than usual, and we also have a lot of big events coming up. We have a lot of video projects that we're working on. If you are in Atlanta, we are going to be at Dragon Con 2015 this year, so if you want to hang out with us or see us or say hello, we'll definitely be there. We're also going to be doing some interviews with some really cool people there, and of course we're just going to be partying and having a really good time because it's going to be Labor Day weekend, and we ask that you guys also have a wonderful Labor Day weekend. Please be safe. If you are going to be drinking, hanging out with your friends, make sure you have a designated driver. We have lost way too many friends to drunk driving accidents. Just make sure to have fun and have a great freaking weekend. So thank you guys for watching, and as always, stay dandy, baby.